LoGorrhea, excessive and often incoherent talkativeness or wordiness. I like that.
Idris Alba, however you say it. Oh, is that a phone I hear?
Apologies, I'm putting it on silent now. I didn't know we were like getting straight into it.
We were just saying that Tom Hanks, like we were talking about my beard's grown out since the last, and it's because of the quarantine. Like I don't really care. So I feel like Castaway, and it's ironic because Tom Hanks actually got corona.
Yeah.
What's up, Storm?
What's up, Michael?
Hey, and she's back. I don't know if you noticed my beautiful DMT back.
Loving it. DMT background. All I see is what's it? Trees. Not trees.
Cheese.
Grass.
Wheatgrass. No, it's grass. Have a look. Step into my dimension. I've been doing this lately, where I basically I put a virtual background on. Before it's been like this weird, freaky sort of a background. Not weird and freaky. It's like this global, universal thing that's been kind of cool. And then I've been all alien. But this is the first time I'm showing my face again. Before it was actually on my face, and it looked so trippy. And I was having these like conspiracy conversations with my friends, and it was so fitting to be like, it's out there or whatever. How are you doing though? How are you holding up? You got the cold.
Holding up, man. Yeah, I washed my hair a little. I've been trying to keep busy, man. Just really trying to keep, trying to keep yourself sane, I suppose. I started a 7-day photo challenge. So each day you have like a specific thing that you need to post, like a picture of a specific theme. It's you don't win anything, you don't get anything. If you win, the company will just post your picture on their page, which is really sweet. But I mean, ultimately, it's literally just to keep me busy, literally just to keep me, in the, throes of actually using my camera for something.
So on that note, I saw some pictures of you on Instagram.
Okay.
And is that what you're talking about with the leaves?
Which one?
Well, there's the one where with the leaves, and then there's the one with the books.
Yes.
So
the first one was so the first one was a self-portrait, and that was just my self-portrait to explain how books have literally saved me from this quarantine. Also, although I've only read like 2 books so far.
2 books. That's a lot for some people. That's a lot for me.
I know. Oh yeah, man. So that's literally like a saving grace for me. Is just reading. If I can't, I feel like I've been suffering from writer's block because there's been so much time for me to have written anything, and I just can't. I can't.
But don't you also think that you need to be out in life and to get inspiration? That's where inspiration comes from. It doesn't come from sitting cooped up. Maybe it does if you have like enough psychedelics or something.
Which I did not have.
Then you can sort of explore your own world, like your own universe, and just walk around.
The psychedelics I had was definitely not enough for that kind of inspiration.
Oh, you're talking about just a little like euphoric boost, like a 2 gram or something.
Yeah, that's literally all it was. I mean, they were super expensive. Trying to get psychedelics during the lockdown was
Psilocybin, magic mushrooms.
Magic mushrooms, man.
Which is interesting because on my journey, of course, as we all are on our own journeys, I came across like, I don't know how I got into this. Sometimes you just end up in this moment and you kind of look around and go, this is interesting. And so you don't know how to partake, so you just observe. And so I was in one of those moments. I was just observing everything that was going on around me, and they're busy talking about like this like ceremony you do, where they've got gongs and stuff. I think that's what it is. Those big like things that
Are you
they
talking about like like a shroom trip, like a retreat thing?
yes, like they call it a
Uh-huh.
ceremony where
Like,
it's like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's in a
Like
house.
not ayahuasca, but with shrooms.
Yes, yes. But what they do is
Yeah,
they
okay.
take I think it's just a cap or something, and they make a tea from like 5 grams of shroom, like concentrate,
Yes.
and then you drink that, and then they even have people they call them not handlers, or they call them watchers or something,
Shamans.
and they'll take
Not
like
like a
one.
shaman.
No, like just people to help you. So they'll be
Okay.
walking around, and they call them the watchers or something, and they'll be
The
basically
watches.
I don't know, it's weird, but they'll
It's so
take
ominous.
they'll take 1 G or something. So they also on that frequency, I
In a
mean,
vibe.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to not to be too foreign.
Mm.
And then like if people obviously fall on their side, because I mean they say it gets hectic. Like a lady was
Yeah.
even talking about, hey, I can see your cat in the back, huh?
Oh
Behind you.
yeah, that's Lele.
um, it's kind of a cool little cameo feature. But
Yeah, I have so many mirrors on my cupboard doors, so she's just seeing my entire room now.
uh, that's awesome. It looks nice and spacious. It's very feng shui, if I must add. Gives off
I
the
actually
energy.
did that for quarantine. I literally pushed my bed to one side and then made this massive area here where we can we do yoga in the morning, we'll exercise in this room, get some, so much room for activities.
Hey, shout out Step Brothers. I saw it is on Netflix.
Yes, man.
Uh, I didn't
I
even know
gotta
what we
watch
were.
it again.
I didn't even know what we were talking about. But
We were talking about Cybersilian and
uh,
shrooms
psilocybin. Yeah. So basically, this
and the
ceremony
ceremony.
happens, and yeah, like an example, this lady, she was talking about she went through like her 4 births or something, like while she was lying there, and then
4 births.
like from over, like she went through all of them, and then basically it helped her get over like the miscarriage or something of like the one before or the one after, like the fifth one or the one before the
Is this
first one was
is
born.
is this her own birth or miscarriages that she's had?
No, so she has 4 kids, and then but she had a miscarriage, like either the fifth one
With
or
one
the
of them. Okay.
yes, or the one before the first one was actually born. And so then I don't know, I'm probably butchering the story, but she did this like the ceremony and actually ended up going through the whole experience, and that's how she got over. She was holding in that miscarriage the whole time, and after the ceremony, she was like over it, or she had accepted it. So
Shit,
like,
that's crazy.
and the thing is, they said that
What?
they said that like she was busy screaming, like she was giving. It's
Like
just
she actually felt it?
yeah,
Like the actual
like
contractions and
everything.
labor and everything. That's
She
horrible.
went into
Four
that like
times.
yeah, she went into that sort of trip, and they say like
That sounds awful.
a lot of older people do it though. People who are like in their 40s, and they do it because they have so much that they're holding on to, and that's welled up, and then they do these ceremonies, and then they hit this
To
gong.
let go
They
and move
make
on.
it all like psychedelic, like all around. They'll just hang tie-dyed stuff and decor stuff like that, and then they hit this gong, and they say when they hit the gong, the vibration is insane. Like it will literally just
I can
change
imagine.
through your body. You'll just feel like it's insane.
There's these crazy magnetic what is it called? It's like a fork almost. It's two long like poles and it's made out of some kind of iron. And if you like hit those,
I know what you're
you
talking
know what I'm
about.
talking about.
Yes.
It's some specific ring. This sound actually it not messes, but it kind of rearranges your what was it like your brain molecules in a way. So it kind of like resets you.
Yes.
And they say this is a sound that you should listen to every day, like meditate to it, because it literally like it just like, and I only like, it was just like a commercial or something on Instagram that I saw, and I kept listening to it because it was so good. And you can actually feel like it's almost like, you know, when you tense your muscles and then you feel yourself letting it go. It was kind of like that with my brain. Like you get like you can feel your brain relaxing.
Yes, it's not all
so awesome.
tight the whole time.
Yeah. No,
That's
it's pretty
actually
cool.
interesting you mentioned that, because for the last like 4 days, I've been on YouTube. Yeah, I'll do it in the morning, and I've been doing it in the evening. I like find these meditation frequencies, and you'll see they have certain frequencies. Well, that's what they put it as. I'm not really sure. I mean, they could be telling me anything. I mean, I could probably do the same with Enya or something like that. Music, but
There's one that I listen to specifically. Sorry to interrupt you.
no, it's all
I'm
good.
just looking for it.
Conversation
It's
in
called
general is good.
It's called the Marconi Union Waitlist. So this song, if you will, or tune, if you will, I'm just trying to find the article on it. But they say that this literally like, and even when you listen to it, they advise you not to be like doing anything physical.
Okay, so you're almost in your mental fully.
Yeah, you're like fully like in a trance, and it's neuroscientists have said that it's, I'm just waiting for it to come through, but it literally relieves all stress and anxiety. It reduces your stress and your anxiety by up to 65% just by listening to it. It's and it almost sounds like Alien.
I like those type of things.
You know what I mean? Like, let me see if I play it, would you be able to hear it? Well, this is it. This is what it looks like.
Marconi Union waitlist.
Yeah. Can you? I'll just let you do that on your own day then, on your own time.
Yeah. I mean,
but it's trippy. It's pretty awesome the way it makes you feel.
that's what you were talking about. It sort of puts you in that meditation, these frequencies. And also that's what I've been doing. And you were asking me earlier, what do I mean by rituals, or what is my rituals? Actually, that was your question.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, well, what do you do every day? Like, what is the thing that gets you up in the morning? Because I feel like during this lockdown, you need something. Otherwise you're just gonna sit in bed for most of the morning and then get up just because you have to eat and because you have to poo or something. And it's just like, you need a reason. And I think routine is the one way to save you from like basically losing your sanity.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about it is, so for some reason, whenever in the mornings I'll meditate, right? So it leads me on to one of the main things I wanted to talk about, because of obviously the Midnight Gospel. You should check it out on Netflix. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Obviously, everybody in their life is on a different path. Everybody's at a different phase. It just resonated with me because I feel I'm at that sort of phase, and so it's obviously not. It isn't for everyone, but obviously it's same people who did Adventure Time, Pendleton Ward. He's amazing, all the things he works in. And so him and Duncan Trussell, one of my favorite people, made the show. And so he talks about mindfulness in there. And so I've just been doing it. And the thing is, in all honesty, I've seen him on podcasts, on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he talks about these same things. So getting to see it in the show, The Midnight Gospel, was like such a treat for me, because I'd seen all this data throughout time, and now I'm getting it in this concentrated thing, and it was like a full-on reminder of everything I'd learned. That's why I appreciate it so much. And I'm glad you actually watched it, because I knew you would get it.
Yeah. No, it was freaking awesome. I mean, I think they did it that way to kind of reinforce enough. I don't know how to say it, but it's because there's so much commotion in all of it,
Exactly.
and and that in itself is also a metaphor of the podcast and what you're actually learning in each episode was the ability to focus your mind on one thing. You know what I mean? Like
That's
your
the
ability
thing.
to let go of all the commotion and the crazy stuff that's happening because shit gets seriously crazy in that show. Like the president is like he can barely walk, but he's shooting zombies and killing them while they're going through this, and they're going to a mall, but they're still talking about all this philosophical stuff. And you're like, wait, what just happened? Wait, what is he saying? What is? And then you kind of find your brain trying to figure out where to focus on. And obviously, the greatest focus is what they're talking about. Like that's what you actually want to really hone in on.
And actually, I was having trouble sort of explaining that to people because, you know, I binged the whole show, but I almost can't remember much other than the teaching. You know, it's like I'm
Yeah.
scrambled. I'm like, and you know, it reminded me of like taking mushrooms or something, because when you do that and you get enhanced and you're almost in that knowing, that complete knowing of everything, sort of. Then it like as you come down, basically, it it's harder to hold on to all that knowledge you just learned, you know. And then over time, you kind of thinking like, what was that thought I was thinking at that time
Yeah.
that was so profound to me, but I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel happened with the show.
No, I totally agree with you. There's so many moments. I had to personally look up the people that he was speaking to. Like there was a mortician that he spoke to. There was an American songwriter. That was
Yes.
the second last one with the meditation guy, David
Dave
Nefton or something.
Eccles, or
No, that was the other guy. That
oh
was
yeah, one of the second episode, I think, Dan Eccles or something.
yeah. Yeah. He was one of the first guys, and he went to prison. He
Yes,
was
yes. That was
yeah, and I couldn't.
crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't. I didn't actually read why he went to prison, but he was also pretty freaking profound. Um, but I found that the main consensus of the entire series and every like the main teaching that each and every one of those people that he spoke to had was literally just being in the present moment. Literally, like
Yeah,
staying in this present
that
moment.
is,
And that was
yeah.
literally the main thing. It was just like, even when you're dealing with death, the only way to deal with death is to, like, the second last, the mortician lady, who was, she was talking about, like, if you're in the presence of somebody dying, before you call the ambulance, before you freak out, especially if you know that that is inevitably going to happen, is to use those last few moments and just be there with this person.
Yes,
Just, you know, mad perspective.
that was very interesting when she said that. I kind of, you know, sometimes when you're listening to these things that's so profound, you kind of have to, you almost have to pause it and go, wait, what did she say? And then, you know, because I like you speaking about it now is reminding me
Yeah.
of that episode and the fact that she did say that. And then now it makes me think and go, oh yes, because what the time you're running to go call the ambulance, the person could die, you know, instead of
And
you
you've
just,
essentially lost those moments.
and then like instead of just sitting there. But I mean, it's just, it's so hard because maybe you calling the ambulance could save the person. You see,
Well,
it's
I
like
mean,
such
that's
a
also what
weird.
you need to know. Let me put it into this perspective. I had an aunt who had pancreatic cancer. She was diagnosed, and then within a year and a couple, not even a couple months, a year and a month maybe, she passed away. And in that whole year, um, she fought. Like she really, really fought, and she went to the hospital, and all it did was deteriorate her. She just like became like frail and tinier and just more and more delicate, you know, after each chemotherapy and all of that jazz. And what I'd learned earlier on, I think it was more of the doctors were like, it's a 40-60% chance. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a 60% chance that you're not getting out of this because of where the cancer had. Because you can cut a part of your pancreas, you know what I mean? And you can be fine, but she couldn't. It was on the side where it was actually attached to her stomach and all of that jazz. So they couldn't remove it. They had to go through chemo. And they said it's only a 40% chance. So for me, that gave me a perspective that if I was in that position, and just from looking at where she came from and what it did to her and what all that medication did to her, I would have, if a doctor had told me that, I would try as much as possible to sustain my life, but I wouldn't fight it. Because in that year, instead of going through chemo and putting my body through so much pain and literally just making it die faster, I would have gone overseas with my family. I would have done all these things. I would have completed a full-on bucket list and just taken every single moment, like the way Duncan Trussell's mom spoke about it. You know, that,
oh my
can't even
goodness,
that last episode.
I was
gone. I cried constantly. I was like, this woman, I can't even. That was so heartbreaking.
It was so
but yeah, I would. I would just take those moments, especially if I knew what my odds were. If I knew that this isn't really going to work, I would just go with choosing what life I would live and literally holding it on that. Sorry, that's my roommate.
It's super chill. No worries. Hi. So
he says hi.
So but that's exactly it. And I actually just finished Breaking Bad again for the 10th time. I think that's a record. And what
you're
gonna
hate me. I have not watched it.
Are you?
I have not watched it.
I'll forgive you because we are in quarantine, and you should have no excuse now. I think next time we speak, you should be finished.
I'll do that. I'll do that. My mom and my brother have carried on about it, and I just never got
you
to
of
it.
all people should have watched.
No.
It's genius. But anyways, I'll let you live with that.
Spoilers. Okay.
But yeah, so I can't even speak about what I wanted to speak about. But anyways, watch.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Speak about it.
No, well, basically, you know, he chooses to live. He says something similar to what you said, where he's like,
yes, I remember he does get cancer though.
Yeah, where he's like,
I remember that subplot.
How do you want to remember me? Do you want to remember me as like someone who's all fragile and thin and sick,
frail and
you know, who can't even like make love? That's what he says. So
of course he does.
My dogs are barking in the back, but so that's what he says, and then so that's how I would want to do it as well, because at the end of the day, we need to be celebrating, because I'm going on to the next one, guys. Yay,
exactly.
Me. You know that.
Exactly.
Why?
And there was this TV series that we watched. What was it called? And it was about this guy who just gets dumped by his girlfriend, and she's like, yeah, but you're also gay. Like, you should know that you're gay, kind of situation. And he has this aunt who at first you think is very like Aunt Peggy. Why do I remember her but not the name of the TV series?
Aunt Peggy.
And Aunt Peggy, she seems like a prude and stuff in the beginning, and then all of a sudden she even has this point where she's in church and she stands up to the priest and she's like, I have a nephew and he's gay and I love him, and it doesn't, like what would God think of me if I didn't love my nephew in spite of who he loves, you know what I mean? And I was like, he's so amazing. Anyway, she dies, but she, in the TV series, she writes her own eulogy. It's very adorable. It's really, really sweet. And she just talks about how her uh, depressed niece, because that's the gay kid's mom, and
Okay.
her gay nephew are the only people that she has in life. But how loving them has also taught her tolerance and patience and just, this, to be open to loving imperfect beings, because what is perfect?
Exactly.
But more importantly, so she told everyone at her funeral to wear vibrant colors, because that is what she wants everyone to be reminded of when they think of her, is the life that she lived,
Yeah.
not that she's gone. Yeah. Anyway,
Amazing.
I don't know
But you
what point
obviously
that
don't.
was.
No, it's because I was saying, celebrate. I'm going to the next phase. So then you said that's why Aunt Peggy wants to have these colors and things, because it's, you see, what's weird about the whole about death is that we could literally be using the way we feel in the wrong way, because what if the way we feel, like that sadness, is actually supposed to be celebrated or looked at in a different way, and the that well up of emotion is actually, if channeled correctly, is actually supposed to be the place we're supposed to be at when someone dies. So you never know. I mean, obviously this is just spitballing, but at the end of the day, I think about these things because um like we're just holding on to this, like, this clay form, as they call it, this body on this earth and
Yeah,
thing.
which
but
isn't you.
but there's so much going on, like inside and on all these different planes, like just on the mental plane and then the spiritual plane and then this body form. Because it's like, I know I'm here, I'm kind of like conscious of seeing all these things, but that isn't like a part of my body. As a human being, you look at yourself and you go, but that's like almost separate. It's like, this is up here and then my body is down here, and I'm like, and I'm sort of in the body, but that means it's separate. Then it's like, okay, so what plane is that on? What
I
else is
actually read
there that
something.
I can't see?
I read something like that. I think it was just yesterday or something about you have your the observer and the consciousness, and
Yes.
that makes
That
you.
sounds
You know what I mean? Yeah, something like that. Where it's like you have your observer and you have your consciousness. When you realize um, that you're not either or, that you're both,
yeah.
but more importantly, you're not the physical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not the body. It's the body doesn't necessarily make who you are, and I think that's where we fear this inability to detach from that situation, because this makes things feel real, but it's not. It's more of a, like, you need to see God to believe God situation, which
Yeah.
is bullshit. You know what I mean? But speaking on death, and I read something that has always stuck with me, and it was literally the most beautiful thing I ever heard, where they say is um, mourning is love with no place to go. So it's almost like your heart is so filled with
Wow.
love for this person, and you can't give it to that person because that person is no longer there. So your heart basically just like swells up and ultimately bursts and breaks.
Oh my god.
I
That's
found that
making
so
me
incredibly
sad,
beautiful.
actually.
I know, but it reminds me of what Trussell's mom said in the last episode of the Midnight Gospel, of the only way to get through these things is just literally just cry, feel those feelings. You have to feel that love that can't go anywhere. You have to feel it.
And you have to
There's
sit
no
with
other way
it
to go around
and
it.
recognize it for what it is. And also,
Exactly.
and the bigger it is, you should actually like cherish it. You should hold it higher and be like, wow, look how much I loved someone.
Yes.
And
And
actually
how lucky you were to actually have had that
that
kind of
love,
love.
because I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people, they don't have that.
Don't.
Um,
Exactly.
I just saw her walking in the yard. I think about my dog Penny,
Oh, Benny.
with a P, Penny, like
No, no, I
Penelope.
said Penny.
Oh, that's
Like
what you
Penny
said.
Lane.
Yeah, like Penelope. She's just so sweet.
Mm,
I don't know. It's complete love. And yes, I've only known her for so long because we got her as a puppy, and she's still got many years to go. But if it's at this point now, like I can't imagine what it would be in the future. Um,
yeah.
but it's so interesting that you said that, and that's why I'm having this convo with you, just because it's good. A back and forth is always good. You have these things you said, reminds me of things, and I go like, oh yes, topic keeps flowing. It's just good.
But
Um,
like even talking about your dog, I like the love of my life was my Labrador Lennon Kravitz, and
yes, yes, I
and
remember.
he passed away, and that like to this day I'll still find myself like there'll be something that reminds me of him, and that pain of that love that can't go
Yes,
to
can't go
him,
anywhere.
it kills, it stabs like a knife, man. It's so hardcore. But also to like set that aside and be in that pain, feel that pain, because I was somebody who was blessed enough to have been loved by such an incredible animal. Do you know what I mean?
The way
Such
they
an
look
incredible.
at you, and it's like, what?
Dude, there's no greater love than a dog's
I
love,
love
man.
deserving.
Totally undeserving. We don't deserve dogs. They're just way better than all of us.
They're like our Zen masters who know not to say too much.
Exactly. My favorite meme about dogs is it's like an angel, um, and it's saying, and like a speech bubble coming from out of nowhere because nobody knows what God looks like, and he's like, and then we'll take their wings away so they don't know they're angels. He's
Oh
like pointing at a
yes,
dog.
yes. I saw that long ago. They
Yeah, it's so old,
they even have
but
that
it's so
weird
relevant.
that weird. Anyways, I won't go into that now. But just like the depiction of like the person who's in charge or who's giving the wings and taking the wings was just kind of. I remember that weirdly. It was like one of those Red Bull ads, you know,
Something like that, yeah.
all like it's not really in detail. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, so now before I forget this, because obviously we can't get off topic. Um, so
always.
that is one of the key things that uh, has almost helped me, because I always thought about, if you look at meditation, right? If you think of emotions that are well up, and you think about thoughts that are just endless in your head, the main thing everybody always got wrong or thought was that you have to silence that. You have to get away from the chaos. You have to sit without it, and then you'll be in a Zen space. And I did that as well. And I was like, it's great for the time being, but eventually I have to go back into the chaos. And then it's almost like it's double. It's like I've stepped away from it, and now the thoughts and the emotions,
Yeah,
it's way more. And over these new, and now obviously with listening to what Duncan said and listening to what he said, and also just these some Buddhist teachings, which is actually something I want to actually look into and just read up on it. I mean, there's no harm in sort of
definitely.
expanding the mind through teachings of, like, that's hundreds of years old, even more. But the thing is being mindful of the way you're feeling. So I was having like crazy anxiety the other day, and instead of then I was like, let me just meditate a little bit. Then instead of moving away from it, I sat with it. I was like, no, wait, what am I feeling? Let me try understand what I'm feeling now. What is this about and what is it meant to be? And I sat there and it got excruciating. It was, I almost just wanted to scream at the top of my lungs. Like it was just too much. But then right after that, it just eased off. And I sat in this weird place where I was accepting of it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what this is. And the boost I got from it was insane. It was like I used that to fuel me. Instead of running away from it, I can't become one with it because it already is me. I just remembered that. And
Yeah.
that is, I think, a better way. Yeah. I don't know. I was just ranting there. It's a beautiful day, man.
It is beautiful. I wish we had
you
like a bigger garden.
you obviously southern suburbs, right?
Kenilworth, yeah.
Yeah. It's nice trees out there. Actually, you know what? One of my favorite places is. It's just
But you're
there.
in the suburbs. Don't you have like a garden and a
No,
pool?
don't get me wrong. It's very beautiful. um, so I'm fine with that. But I just mean, I know I've been some places, and I know certain places gives off great energy. And in Rondebosch, with all those trees along that
Oh yeah, it's
road, I
beautiful.
think it's like Victoria Street or something.
Listen, my favorite view of the mountain is its backside. Like honestly,
It's
Cape
back.
Town's like, yeah, Table Mountains. It's like it's pretty from Camps Bay. It's okay. But I mean, when you go to Constantia and Claremont and you see
Oh,
that side of it,
yes.
I mean, that's where Kirstenbosch is. Do you know what I mean? It's
Oh, yes.
so
It's almost
beautiful.
like you sitting in
It's
its
like a
garden or
whole,
something.
yeah, exactly. You're like in the lush area of the mountain, where like the other side is just rock. I mean,
And
Constantia's like all green.
you did read the Celestine Prophecy, right?
I did.
Now,
I think I read it when I met you or something like that, but it
I
was a
know
long
we
time ago.
spoke about it, but it's just something that I'm remembering from the book now. I actually want to reread it, but I mean,
Me too.
there's
A
no
friend of
hard
mine still has the
copies.
book.
Really, that would be amazing. I'll probably have to read it off PDF or something. But what I remember something in there, because that's the one he goes to Peru with the manuscript, and then he goes to that one like lab or facility, and then they're speaking about how they observe the energy, like sort of like my hand
Yeah.
right now. Um,
Just hold on. I just
yeah,
need to get
all
this
good.
fly in my room.
No,
I
I'm
need to
just
get
gonna
rid of
keep
it.
speaking. And so basically, in the Celestine Prophecy, they go to this facility, and in the facility, they observe these trees, and you can see the aura coming off of the trees.
Yeah, the
If you can't,
energy off
yes,
of.
if you, and basically you can use that in nature to sort of recharge yourself. And the reason why human beings are so have to use these control dramas that they speak of, there's like four main control dramas. The reason we have to take this energy from each other and we have to sort of manipulate each other to get that is because we've removed ourselves from nature. And so now the only place to find that energy is through each other instead of being in nature. Like the cities,
Yeah.
it's removed from all of that. And that's why it's putrid, actually. It's disgusting. Cape Town, I went there the other day, and like I love Cape
How
Town.
did you go to Cape Town?
What do you mean?
Aren't you supposed to be like locked down?
No,
Didn't you get
no.
stopped by the cops?
Look here, everything I say is from a previous time that existed
Okay.
before.
Because nothing like.
Oh, look here,
Because nothing's happened since then.
I've literally been at home the whole time. It is like, and I'm actually all right with it. I'm fine. I'm content.
Yeah, well, you have a home. You know what I
Oh
mean? Not
yes,
an
that is
apartment on the
true.
sixth floor
Where you busy
where you
scratching your
you gotta
neck,
have a
looking out the
garden.
window. No, but I will say I am extremely grateful. I do wake up in the morning and I'm like, wow. You realize these things throughout the day. Um, but I just wanna. I don't even know what. I wanted to speak about certain things. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm having such a good conversation, anyways. And that's one of the other things that I've learned from this whole quarantine process is I missed conversation. I missed speaking to people. You know, there was calls I used to drop daily, every day. I'm like, nope, not this week.
Not today. Not
Next
today.
month is your month. Okay. And then literally, I couldn't answer the phone quicker yesterday.
Let me give you an example. I always laughed because I'm from Joburg.
Yes.
My dad actually wanted me to go home, and then I would have had a garden and a big, beautiful pool and all of that jazz, but I wouldn't have my kittens to look after. When I moved to Cape Town, the first thing I noticed was that because Joburg people are very like in your face. They'll just make friends with you in a split second. It's not even like
Remember I told you that about yourself. I was like, wait,
yeah.
can't be from here.
Yeah, I remember when you met me, you were like, who's this? Like, how do you just walk up to people? And I'm like, you just
because
say
we
hi.
do that in Cape Town.
Yeah, because Cape Townians don't do that. And now they have started doing that. I'm standing in the line at Clicks and these people are speaking to me and I'm like, shame. You must be at home alone and just need somebody to talk to. And like, it feels like Joburg going to the shops and like people are in the line and you start having a fat conversation with some random stranger. I mean, I've never seen that in Cape Town before.
It's the
It's
clicky
bringing people
culture.
together.
It is.
Exactly.
I mean,
And quarantine is changing that.
It is because now we're gonna really. I mean, I want to
I
do
think
more of
just
these conversations.
appreciate
Yes, let's
socializing a little bit more.
and do it safely from a safe distance.
Yeah,
You know what? It
definitely.
reminds me of. So I went to like a Christian school growing up, and I never like finished school there. Matriculated is what we would call what
Yeah.
can't even think of it now. Graduating.
Graduating?
Yes, that's matriculating. I'm just saying that because there's many people in the world. We aren't just speaking to people in South Africa,
Yeah.
hopefully. But anyways, and I remember at the matric dance, so your prom, I guess, is that what it is? Prom?
Yeah.
There was this rule of like 1 meter between the guy and the girl. How
So you had
crazy!
to like slow dance like this.
Like completely. You know where you got your hands up, like you're trying to protect yourself from something. That's basically what it was. It's like this guy and this girl like looking like they're going into a fight, walking in a circle.
So basically just going back to that prom night matric farewell rules.
Exactly.
1 meter
So
apart.
that's what it reminded me of, the safe distance. And you know what's crazy? I'm like you know me. I've been wanting to do a podcast for yonks now. Since when I met you, I was talking about it, and even
Yeah.
before that, like I don't know. It's just, and it's obviously comes down to the fact that when I was a kid, I was shy and stuff, and I didn't have many conversations. I mainly just listened, or I felt I didn't have anything to give to the conversation. But in turn, that sort of curse turned out to be a blessing because now I got to listen to people a lot more than others. And so I could hear all different kinds of things, and I could now put certain emotions with what people were saying, and then also recognize emotions said with words that aren't sort of projecting those emotions. So someone could have an angry emotion, but say words that don't match with how they feel.
The tone, yeah.
But I know you're angry when you're saying that, even though you're not saying words that are actually saying that you're upset. So I got to see things like that. And so now, and then obviously I got some confidence and I did theater and I just went completely left, I guess. And then I started speaking, and then I started speaking too much, now I'm not listening to anybody anymore because I'm like, no, I haven't had my chance. You will listen up. Now that's obviously tapered down to now where it's just, dude, now I can listen
Yeah.
and speak. And so that's
Yeah.
why, I don't know, it's just real conversations with normal people who I think are pretty good. Well, not good, abnormally good. And just listen to what they have to say and put them on this journey with me.
Platform.
But I just do want to talk about self development. Like, that is just one of the things. And um, so, okay, let me just break this down properly. So, this is how this whole thing actually turned out. So I was up and I was trying to be all mindful and stuff and just not be in my head as I wake up in the morning. All of a sudden, I've got a zombie apocalypse happening in my head and I'm just waking up. You know, that's
Yeah.
some of the things that I experienced. And then I woke up from that and I was like, okay, let me try being mindful. Let me just, and as remember Duncan's mother says in Midnight Gospel, just try feel your body. You know, just feel your
Yeah.
your foot first, and then just feel how you
Yeah.
feel inside your foot. You know, then
Yeah.
move your other foot, and then you know your
And then
legs.
it's your arms and your hands.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it works brilliantly because now while you
Yeah, but
looking.
then after that, you have to look and you have to
Yes,
see
exactly.
and you have to use all your senses,
At the
and then
same
you
time,
are fully in the present moment. Yeah.
and that's even with the thoughts running across. You see, so it's
I love that metaphor. Like, you know, whenever you do like a guided meditation, they'll always tell you about the monkey in your brain, the thought monkey
yes,
that keeps going. And then they actually had an actual monkey in the series.
yes.
And I was like, that's so funny. It's just like hitting it like literally on the nail.
It's genius. I need to rewatch that.
Yeah, no, so, like I spent each episode, I would have to go back to be like, wait, what were they actually saying? Because you get so distracted sometimes with all the commotion of what's happening. I mean, like Satan started making out with the jazz player
Yes, and
or
like,
something, and I was like, what is good? Like, what is happening? And they're stuck in this weird elevator, and I'm like, and I've tripped on DMT, and it was never anything like that. Like that was. I don't know what the fuck that was.
I
I
don't.
mean, no DMT trip should make sense either. So
Even like, I wouldn't mind doing a like a ceremony ayahuasca though.
I would like to do ayahuasca. I mean, the only difference between DMT and ayahuasca is that it's the concentrated form, and you get like a 12-minute high, whereas with ayahuasca, when you drink it, you'll get like a 12-hour high.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, it can go for it's long, and it's pretty intense because you literally like speaking about being in the mind and the body and all of that jazz. You are literally, you lose your body. There's no body, there's no self. There's this floating
Oh
essence,
yes, that.
and this floating essence, I didn't see myself. I didn't know what I looked like. I just knew I had no body. There was like it there's
So
nothing. I
you've
mean,
done it before.
yeah, I've done DMT, so I've smoked it before.
Yeah.
Like Joe Rogan's also done it, and the way he explains it is, I can't explain it any more than that. There's nothing more alien in this life than going through that process of like the minute you take, like you inhale that smoke, you count to 15 by 8, you're gone.
No, so I
And I
mean,
don't even know if I finished my 15 counts, but
oh
I was
yeah,
gone. And you
I've
just
yeah.
propelled into the stratospheres. It's daunting. It's really, it's mad.
I remember I was at now. So I have smoked it before. I just
What,
haven't.
DMT?
Yes, I just haven't done ayahuasca where they drink it like that.
And what did you see in your DMT trip?
Oh my gosh, it was. I remember. So obviously, we go to all these festivals and stuff out here. Well, I used to when
Wait,
I
you
was,
did it at a festival?
yeah, and like people were trying.
How?
They were trying to trick me in a sense. They were like, "Oh, have this bong," and I looked at like the green inside, and I'm like, that doesn't look like weed. Like in my head, I was just thinking that. And
it looks like gunpowder. Is
well,
what it actually
so
looks like.
what I had was changa. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Oh yeah, changa. Yeah.
Okay, so
It's similar.
so
Ish.
basic, yeah. Like I know it's completely different. Like what the one you probably took is like the proper one.
Yours is the one from the frog. Yes. Yours is, I think, I might be wrong. So ayahuasca's from the plant, and then there's the one that they do in South America where they have this poisonous frog.
Yeah, I've heard
And
of
the stuff
that.
that's on the poisonous frog, they scrape that off and they dry it up and then they crush it, and that's, I think, what changa is. Anyway,
Yeah.
carry on.
But yeah, it was just okay. So basically, if I explain how it looks like green tobacco, like just a whole jar full of it. And this dude was
Almost like mescaline.
yeah, like I really can't
Mescaline looks like
explain
that.
it. Like you look at it and you're like, whoa,
I
that's
just sound like
definitely
a
not
drug addict
weed.
now.
You like giving me all the I'm just like, oh, what was that? Writing down.
But anyway, so these guys tricked you into doing
Yes,
changa.
and then I smoked
And
it,
the,
and then I just
and
remember, I folded my legs like that, or like yogi. I don't know if you like that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
put my legs over each other, and then I closed my eyes, and I hit it, and then there was like this weird. It went in, and then all of a sudden there was this like rush over my shoulders and up my neck on the side here, and then just it felt like my head fell off, like it rolled like that. It went up into my head and it like almost hit my crown chakra, and then it just like rolled, and I rolled, and then I just started spinning in all different dimensions,
Yeah.
like it was just like a spiral, like a gyroscope started happening, and I was just floating everywhere. And then like the one thing, then it's like I opened my eyes, but I wasn't there. All I remember was like wind on my face, and I felt old. Like I felt like I had this beard. Like I don't know, it's so weird to explain. I had this like weird beard, and I was standing in the middle of this like a weird storm. And the thing is, I don't remember. I'm just talking about the feeling now, because the visuals were like crazy, obviously. And I see these like this storm, and I'm like almost this old man at the center of time type of thing. And then all of a sudden, it drifts out of it, and now all of a sudden these blotches come up, and it's reality, like the thing I've been looking at the whole time, the world around me at this party
Then it just
starts like
opens up.
a puzzle starts opening, and like these pieces start coming together, and I'm starting to like realize where I
Drift
was
away from the
before.
trip.
And then do and like you blink kind of a few times, but the craziest thing was, as it was still kind of dark and I saw patches, I heard people talking all around me, and they were like, this one chick was like, when is the music starting? And I was like, what? They're like, oh no, I think it's starting now. And I was like listening to these people, and I was like, who is saying that? Like, where are they coming from? And then my reality came back, doop, 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 doop. And I was still sitting there with my legs like that, and I looked up, and they were all still around me. And about 10 seconds later, the girl said, when's the music starting? And then someone else said, I think it's starting now.
Oh, shit.
I heard everything they already said
before it happened.
before it even happened. And I looked up, and I looked around at them, and I was like, what? And I jumped up, and I ran to my other friend, and I went to go tell them about what I just experienced.
Goodness. But I mean, like when you're in a kind of trip like that, I tell you, there's no amount of time. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. I mean, when I did DMT, it was a completely different experience. I mean, you see those shapes, and they're always moving into each other and stuff like that. But I wasn't necessarily in it. I was an observer. I was like sitting, watching it. And the entire trip, it was like, because you literally, once you come out of it, you forget like 80% of what happened. Like what I remember, there's like, I kind of picture it in like this long ass line, like this long string of thought, and right at the tip is like the majority of what your lesson was in that trip, and that is everything you forget. The minute you get out, like
wow,
you're
that's insane.
rocketed back into reality, and all of that stays there, and you're just like, fuck, what just happened? And you don't remember. What I do remember, I did see what Joe Rogan was speaking about with the, there's also another guy, the OG DMT guy, the LSD guy, the guy who, was it
Terrence McKenna.
Nichols? Terrence McKenna. Terrence McKenna spoke about these clowns, these weird little clown creatures, and I was literally like in a fucking circus. It felt like a circus.
Oh,
It
wow.
was literally like the ground and everything was these red and orange golden patterns, and you know those patterns always move
Yes.
in each other. So you see like the thick black lines, like almost like an animation.
Yes.
And you'll see the thick black lines that actually shape everything, but there's still like those patterns flowing through everything. And then like in the picture, these clowns are like doing cartwheels.
Oh my
But it's like,
God,
but these
I'd
clowns
freak
are
out.
like, they triangle shaped. They're so bizarre, and so much energy that I started feeling very like anxiety filled, because this thing literally like propelled me, just like rocketed out into the stratospheres, and then I found myself in nothing, and then these weird like shapes like just coming in front of me and like falling into each other, and then I find myself in a circus, and I'm just like constantly just freaking out until I actually had like a full-on argument with, I call it my ego, because there was one voice that was like, this is fucking stupid, what are you doing here, why are you here, this is ridiculous. And then the other voice is like, calm the fuck down, shut up, and take it all in, because this is what you wanted, learn something from it. And I was literally like this massive back and forth until I eventually shut up that person, and I was like, you know what, fine, this is what I asked for, let me just be in this moment. And the minute I was in that moment, the circus started to fade away, and in the distance it was like green coming out of it, and this like massive like white bright light, and it was almost like there was like this voice coming out at me and like saying like, come through, because you could see it was like, if I had to just walk a little bit further on, I would find myself there. The problem with DMT is you have to take at least 3 hits.
Okay.
So you'll get into one, then while you're tripping, you have to take another one, which I don't understand how you do, because once you inhale that first one, you're comatose, you can't move.
Yeah.
But then it's like telling you have to do another one. And there were moments when like the circus started fading, where I was coming in and out of reality, and I could see the room I was in and all of that jazz. And that's probably when I should have hit another one, and I would have probably gone to the other side. Which I really
Which you know what's
through.
crazy? I was thinking about that simulator on the Midnight Gospel, and you
Which
know
is
what?
shaped like a vagina.
I
Hi,
know.
hello.
I was like, hey,
I love that.
hey.
I mean, it literally is the portal.
Yes.
If you think about it.
Yes, it is the portal. And so, basically, now I think I might have been like fully dosed on like a shroom trip the one time, and I sort of had that uh, revelation, if you will, that of that whole setup that they do in the simulator, and maybe it's all in this river of knowledge that we can grab onto whenever we, open our third eyes to these things. But I saw that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little bit baked, obviously. Good baked.
We're actually stopping. Well, just for today and tomorrow, because we've been smoking so much that we just don't feel anything anymore.
Oh,
So
that's
we're
the
like, let's
worst.
take a 2-day break maybe. Just to,
You
you
have
know.
to. I don't know. Like, it can't just be the same thing the whole time, because then
Yeah,
you
because it
just get
becomes
so used to. Yeah,
monotonous. And it's also just learning to respect the weed a little bit more, you know, instead of just neglecting it and doing
and just
overdoing
using
it.
it for your own little kick. Like, I'm just gonna burn this quickly.
And
Yeah,
it is, it's
I
like
forgot
when
what I
you're
wanted to
eating, because
say
it's
anyway.
something to do. So you were talking about,
I know something.
you were talking about the simulator being the
Yes.
shape of your
Okay. So
vagina.
now it's like that is how our lives are. Like, there was something in me that believed at a point that that is sort of the reincarnation that you. And I think I might have even read it in Conversations with God at some point, if it's in there. What
Love
a
them.
book. But anyways,
What a book.
so then, and that is it. Like, he goes into the simulator, but the simulator is sort of like this reincarnation of all these different lives. And you go down, you put yourself in a new place, and you learn a lesson, and then you go back to the hub where you actually are. And it's all just for the one consciousness. It's all just for God, and it's what we do. We grow and we learn, and it's the microcosm of even a single cell organism wanting to split and then learn and then move and understand and grow
Yeah,
and
constantly
evolve,
growing, yeah.
and that's what our consciousness is. That's God. It's also growing, moving, pushing forward. um, so it's almost like our lives are these just lessons. You go out, and what if I tried this way this time and then come back up, and oh, I learned that if I put this and that together, this is the lesson from that. Okay, here's more knowledge, more data. Then the next and the next. And that's what I feel that sort of simulated, if you will.
I do like there's that moment where where even that episode where he's like, I don't need to do this, I'm enlightened, and then he had
Oh,
like that whole
yes.
journey, and then after he's like, I'm sorry, I was being an idiot, I'm not enlightened. It's just like you have to, and that's also like I think we even spoke about it on Instagram about uh, just like living that whole life cycle over and over again because we're not learning the actual lesson that we need to learn. So you'll find yourself backtracking constantly because there's a lesson that you still have not learned properly or fully. Um, yeah, yeah, man. I think it's just like a smaller, condensed version of what life actually is. You know, until you constantly, until you go further and further out of the bad habit that you have, if you will,
Yeah.
then
As I
you
bring it
can
back
kind of get
to,
out of those habits.
and to bring it back to habits are your rituals, and that was actually the original question I fucking
Yay!
asked. I was
Rituals.
like, the meaning of what rituals mean to me, and I have it on my phone here, which is obviously on silent. But so obviously you get ritual, which is like a religious or solemn ceremony. You know, that's your normal one. But then in the Merriam-Webster, you get the definition that I like to use it for. Because human beings pick and choose. Which is an act or series of acts regularly repeated in a set, precise manner. That is also a ritual.
Yeah.
So now everybody's rituals determine success and failure. Like, this is some of the knowledge I've been reading lately, and it really
Yeah.
profound to me. Is that if you look at a successful person's rituals, the things that they do every day consistently, no matter what, leads to different outcomes. So if someone is overweight and someone is fit, I mean, I know it's a
It's the
superficial
easiest
one,
one, yeah.
but it's the one we all know very clearly. So it's a good example. Is that both of those people are successful in their rituals.
Yeah.
Person who's overweight is successful as well as the person who is um, fit, because they are doing their rituals every day precisely
Yeah.
as they're supposed to. So
Yeah.
grabbing that tinky every day, or that pie every day, that is your ritual, and that is how come you're having this outcome. So you can go on a crazy diet if you want to, but you'll always come back because you'll always fall into your same rituals. So until you change those, that's when you see a difference. So for me, basic, and then what they were talking about was, imagine two ships floating, and the one takes a little bump, just a tiny bump over the course of the whole time. At the end of it, this one, even though it just got knocked off a little bit, will end up on a completely different place. So it's something that's small, so something as small as your ritual. So that's why I've been doing it way more. I actually did a podcast with someone, just completely inspired me. I was like, oh my, which is
That's
actually a
awesome.
lost podcast now, because the audio when he spoke, you can't, it's like, it's messed up. And like, you can kind of listen to it. Maybe, I don't know, I'll send you some of it, just maybe some points. You can just hear what he
Who
said.
was it?
This guy I met a long time ago, Jade, and he's like one of these people who, like, he's like a mentor type of guy, my age as well, but he just has a whole lot of people coming to him, and he tells them how to, like, just, he puts in steps into, like, into play for them, and they make their lives better. But we were all sort of on the same journey at the time when we met. We would, like, everybody was sort of just doing self-development for the first time and reading, like, the Jim Rohn books and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I mean Bob Proctor, all these self-development books, self-development books
Self-development.
for a to make money. Obviously, that was our goal. Like, hey, how do we become super rich? And then, like, you have to follow what the rich people say, and then you see they've got habits, and it's all just come down to rituals now. So now I've been doing them. I'm doing my skipping every day. I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna do it. Like, thank goodness I have my brother. He, like, just walks into my room and he's like, "Let's go." And I'll still be in bed, and I'm just like, okay. I jump up and I go do it no matter what. And so now I'm starting to see the difference. Now I can feel in my body, wow, these are the healthy rituals I'm doing now. And one of my ones that I'm also trying to stop, which is what you were speaking about now, is the weed smoking. So you can also make it into a bad ritual where you're just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
There's no purpose to it. So for me, I like to do it now if after I exercise, you know, or if
I
I'm
like to do it before I exercise.
it is nice,
Helps me
but then you have
focus.
to exercise.
Yeah. No, then
That's
you
the
have to.
difference. Then you have to actually
Yeah.
exercise, because you know how it
Yeah.
is. Sometimes you have an idea and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go exercise. Wait, but if I just have, if I just smoke this,
And then you get distracted by something. You
and
end
then
up
next thing,
eating.
under the covers, watching Netflix. But like Storm, like, we could speak all day, but we can call it over there as well. Um, great conversation. Give everybody your Instagram, whatever Instagram you want out there. Just give it to them.
Oh, it's at Stormette9, like
How
Smurfette.
how do we spell that? How do we spell that for some of us who don't
S
know?
STORMETTE9.
Nine. That's Stormet on Instagram, and what's the other one? The Putter one for the
Oh,
cats.
Padawan. So it's like
Oh
Padawans for
yes.
the
Okay,
poor.
now I got that. I was looking at it. I was like, what's different about this?
It's the
That's great.
poor. But as
Um,
just a last note on your ritual thing, the one thing you do need, I mean, yeah, it's cool. Like, I've also started doing a timetable for myself, just, like every day spend an hour on film theory, spend an hour writing something, spend an hour reading something, spend an hour on a musical instrument. Just like,
yeah,
working on something just to learn something new every single day. But more importantly, apart from having a ritual, you need discipline. Because without
that's it.
discipline, your ritual is null and void. So
But
yeah.
yeah, that is true, and that's why it also makes me feel that, and where I almost get the juice to do the or to be disciplined is I look at my other rituals and I'm like, I'm doing this so easily, you know. I'm whatever ritual I don't want, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm doing this like it's nothing. Why can't I do this? Something
Yeah.
I actually want to do, and that's what makes me get up and go do it. But thanks a lot, Storm. That was great.
Thanks, Michael.
Until next time, LoGorrhea. We out.
Cause when you see me out, I'ma turn up. They gon' turn up too. I'm with the homies, what it do, we gon' turn up.